Yeah, I've just been cleared to be a candidate for presidency of Kenya. I have got an agenda that I want to tell Kenyans what that agenda is all about, and it's up to Kenyans to listen to whether Aukot's plan under Third Way Alliance is the best compared to the lies they've been told for the last 54 years.
What lies?
Oh, by the way, let's start with the SGR to begin with.
No, today we have said we will not allow any conversation to at least cloud this big thing. Please.
No.
Give them credit.
Give
credit.
But listen, it's a good idea. But like for me, where I come from, I will believe that SGR is not the priority Kenyans need now. The priority for Kenyans is food security, it's water, it's employment, it's jobs for the young people. This mega infrastructure project is putting us at a very high debt. Did you know that even today a pregnancy in Kenya owes somebody 90,000 Kenya shillings? Did you know that? Did you know that Kenyans are actually starving? There's no food security, there's no water, there are no jobs. The unemployment is on the high, still at 41, I think, %. We are churning out graduates every day. So for me, I would say it's a good idea, but it's also putting us in a deep hole of debt. I would have prioritized the things that actually matter most to the Kenyans. And let me give you an example. I once went to Thailand and I did ask Thai people, how is it that you people now have elevated highways and you've got all these, mammoth of infrastructure that really places your country high up there compared to us, and yet we know that sometimes back in the 1960s, Kenya was at par with these tiger economies, or even better actually than them. And they said they had to prioritize certain things. For example, food was one of those things that's important for a nation. You have food, then you have a healthy nation, then you can now go into other things. And that's exactly where we are going wrong in this country. Because if you look at this mega infrastructure, they are a good idea, but they are also the conduits for theft of public money. Last year alone, Jalango and Jeff, maybe you may not know this, we borrowed about 700 billion Kenya shillings in this so-called mega infrastructure. But we also lost 700 billion into people's pockets.
Okay, but at the same time, Dr. You made some valid points, but if you don't have infrastructure, for instance, if we break it down, farmers cannot get their food to market. So they need that road, whether it's Maram, all-weather, tarmac, ease of transportation. Because let's face it, there is a lot of food in the country, a lot of it gets wasted.
If there was a lot of food in the country, why is it that our people are starving? Why is it that we are importing maize from Mexico? So really, listen, if you allow me, I'll take Kenyans through a 5 key agenda point for Third Way Alliance.
Go on.
And then within that, question me whether this plan is better than what is already out there, what has been adjudged as the best option. So number one, you realize that we've looked at where Kenya has been for the last 54 years. The number one problem in this country has been the failure of leadership. We have a leadership that is not responsive, that is not sensitive to people's needs. You have a leadership that is so individualistic, it's about dynastic. So we're saying we must run away from that. And that's why you can see today, we have many other presidential candidates from outside the usual. And which is why you people are surprised. Oh, Aukot from Capedo, does he have a chance? Now, this is the key agenda for Third Way Alliance. Number one, we want to end economic and social injustice in this country. There's so much injustice economically in this country. So much so that the difference between us as people, as many tribes, it's so bad, and it has brought the division, hatred. If we were to industrialize economic opportunities that are obtained in every part of this country, then we are able to put money into people's pockets to begin with, and then people will be able to have affordability, so that even if drought comes every 5 or so years, people can at least afford a decent living. Imagine in the Hassel region, the arid and semi-arid lands of this country, if we were to industrialize meat production together with all its products. Those pastoralists you see with so many cows, 100 of them, tens of them, are actually millionaires. And the byproducts from that meat production alone, we'll be looking into bags, belts, shoes, being produced in this country from the locality where this opportunity obtains. I've been to Luo Nyanza, Homa Bay. From Fangano and Rusinga Island alone, they are pumping into the GDP of Kenya 7 billion Kenya shillings annually. Yet there is no single fish processing plant in the entire Nyanza. Now, how do you want to enrich the people who spend hours on hand in that part of Nyanza to actually have money into their pocket? Water harvesting is not something that we are taking seriously in this country. We are not digging enough dams, we are not doing enough ponds, and therefore if you have water, then it translates into food production, drip irrigation, and with that, Jeff, then you can do roads to Donyang, to Lokitang, to Mandera, and then connect the counties of Kenya. So if you ask me, what will I have done with SGR money? I will have connected the 47 counties of Kenya through just dual highways. It's much cheaper, it's of economic value, and it will be able to transport goods and services everywhere. We went to coast, we've done our research in coast. Coconut and cashew nut production is something that's being undermined as an industry on its own. And we think that if you are to actually do coconut, the Mijikenda people will have money into their pockets. Why is it that in Tanzania and Uganda, they have industrialized the production of waragi, konyagi? I will not stop from industrializing some of our local genes so that we can actually export them. This is the ideas of how to build a vibrant economy. Milk production from camel alone is something I can actually industrialize in the entire NFD, the northern frontier districts of this country. So this we are not doing. But see, we keep on borrowing on mega infrastructure projects which do not translate directly into the majority of Kenyans. So the second pillar for us is ending theft of public money. We are moving away from the idea of corruption. I mean, again, these are not my words. Look at the last Auditor General report. All the 47 counties of this country, in equal measure, have stolen from the public funds. They cannot account for that money, and that is my...
How are you going to end theft?
I'm going to arrest people.
Arrest?
I'm going to jail people. I'm going to recover that stolen money.
Dr. you cannot arrest people as president. No. It's in the Constitution. You cannot arrest.
With the machinery of the state under me, under my government, under the executive authority that I have, with the investigation authorities from CID to the police to the everybody I point, that is the manner in which I'm going to deal with corruption. And the first thing you need to do with theft of public money, Jeff, is you have to give it the political goodwill 100%. You cannot be had to be throwing your hands in the air as we heard the president say, what do you want me to do? That is already a failure. You've been, for example, to Rwanda, Kagame's Rwanda. There nobody jokes about theft of public money or corruption. You go to jail.
Yeah, you know why?
Yeah?
Because that's a one-man dictatorship, for lack of a better word, or benevolent dictatorship.
I'm not saying that we must emulate everything that happens in other countries, but I think we should not shy away from emulating some of the good ideas or how certain things are being handled in other countries. After all, isn't that the same thing we are doing by going to other countries and asking them for help? So why not? The number one thing that really is needed in fighting corruption is the political goodwill. You need a CEO that says, I do not tolerate this nonsense, this theft called corruption, that people sanitize. I mean, I'll go heavy-handed on the people who cannot account for public money, because that is money that is distributed by the government, the national government, that high head. So you cannot say that you will sit back and watch counties not account for billions of Kenya shillings that is meant for development of the ordinary folks, and then you say that I don't have a role in it. Definitely a president must have a role, and he must speak tough on fighting corruption.
But then, okay, real quick, for instance, let's say the DPP. I mean, everybody's always passing the buck. No one takes responsibility.
You know why? Because that is a failure of leadership, Jeff. It's a failure of leadership from all these institutions. The truth for the matter is this: corruption or this theft of public money has swallowed almost everybody you can think of, in the last 15 years. Which is why we say, if you compare ourselves, Third Way Alliance, and them, there is a marked difference. We are fresh, we are untainted, we can fight this animal called theft of public money without flinching, without thinking that, once upon a time I owed somebody a favor, and therefore, if I go after this. Which is why you can see the fight against corruption is being fought selectively by both coalitions. We are coming into this wholesale, and we are saying we are going to fight it. Now, the third pillar for us is to depolarize negative ethnicity and tribalism. The manner in which our public affairs are run in this country, the manner in which we are seeing each other. I see Jalango, Jaluo, Jeff Koinange, Kikuyu, Ekura, Aukot, Turkana, and we take that into our political organization. It's robbing us of a country that we must all belong to in equal measure.
Where do you think we went wrong with that, Dr. Where do you think we went wrong with that? You're starting to stereotype people. Where did that happen? Because growing up, we never had that.
There are a few individuals who have actually styled themselves as the owners of tribe, and therefore they have taken the machinery of government, and because they have nothing else to offer Kenyans generally, they do not understand that if you are a leader, you are actually a father figure to the nation, and therefore that your policies must be able to bring people together. They are tribalist. That's what they are. If you look at the current political formation, is actually based on tribe. Bring these 2 tribes, 3 tribes against them. But you know, it depolarizes us as a country. We are actually just a country. We are just a conglomerate of ethnic identities that geographically found ourselves in this region called Kenya. And we must have a leadership that actually brings us together and say, we are going to treat every region of this country in equal measure. You know, coming from Turkana, of course, for the longest time, you know, we were declared that the other Kenya. Until, of course, sometimes back oil was discovered and now everybody is good. So there is no useless part in this country. When you are forming government, especially national government, now with the new constitution, we actually have an opportunity to unite the people of Kenya. Because national government ideally must be symbolic. Because already we have devolved power to the counties. So that already addressed largely